As the new Premier League season looms, one of the things we'll all be doing is preparing our fantasy football team, as we get set to take on either our friends or work colleagues in a season-long battle to determine who knows the most about football, because that's exactly what fantasy football proves. Every year there are bargains, with youth players breaking into the first team, but there are also some expensive players who you should steer way clear of, so here are 9 players you should avoid in fantasy football this season. Number 1. Riyad Mahrez. Ever since Leicester won promotion back to the Premier League, Riyad Mahrez is a player who should have been in your fantasy team, even after his price rose. The season Leicester won the title, if you didn't have Mahrez in your team, you were a fool. He was that cheap, but nowadays he's an expensive luxury, and a luxury you should maybe avoid this season. The Algerian is now a Manchester City player, where Mahrez will no longer be the main man, and it's unclear how much playing time the creative midfielder will get, as he competes alongside the likes of Leroy Sané, Raheem Sterling, Bernardo Silva and the likes, for minutes in Pep Guardiola's starting 11. Costing $9 million on the Premier League website and 10.8 on Sky Sports, Mahrez is an expensive risk not worth taking. Number 2. Leighton Baines. It's always smart to have a penalty taker in your team, and it's always a good idea to have a defence made up of attacking fullbacks, which is why Leighton Baines has been ever so popular in years gone by. However, this might be the year that Leighton Baines gets the chop. The Toffees have brought in Lucas Digne from Barcelona, who should be Everton's number 1 left back moving forward, so Baines is out of favour. Unless he gets moved to another Premier League club, the footballing mod won't be able to get you any points, and is a pricey option to avoid. Number 3. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. You've got to feel sorry for the Ox. He was in the form of his life last season for Liverpool, until it was all taken away from him when he got injured in the Champions League semi-final against Roma. His World Cup hopes ended, and his hopes of playing this season are also at risk. The former Arsenal midfielder reportedly could miss the whole season due to injury, so you'd just be plain stupid to pick Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain in your fantasy team, especially when he isn't cheap. Number 4. Eric Dyer. Years ago, Eric Dyer was an absolute dream to have in your fantasy team. He was scoring goals and performing brilliantly, and even when Pochettino deployed him in centre midfield, Eric Dyer was still listed as a defender on Sky Sports, so he still got the points for Tottenham keeping a clean sheet. However, Dyer is now down as a midfielder like he was last season, and with goals somewhat drying up for Dyer, there is far less value in picking the former Sporting Lisbon man, whose hype has slightly dipped in the past couple of years, proving to be ineffective at the World Cup this summer, despite his penalty heroics. Number 5. Thibaut Courtois. The Belgian is one of the best stoppers in the world and has won 2 Premier League titles during his time at Stamford Bridge, but there's a chance it might all come to an end this summer. With Courtois set to enter the final year of his Chelsea contract, the stopper reportedly wants to return to Madrid, having spent 3 years on loan at Atleti, but this time he'll be lining up for Los Blancos instead. Courtois won't go until Chelsea have a replacement, but don't waste your time picking him, because if he does leave, you have to rejig your team to accommodate a new goalkeeper and basically waste transfers. With the Spanish transfer window closing later in the month, Courtois might not be worth picking until September, and that's assuming he's still around then. Number 6. Abdoulaye Doucouré. Just like his teammate Etienne Capoue was the year before, Abdoulaye Doucouré was a player you wanted in your team last season, as most things he touched turned to goals, which saw him rack up a very impressive 156 points on Sky Sports Fantasy Football. Of course, his form from last season has seen his price rise, which if anything has made him a less desirable player, as I don't see any in which Doucouré can match his goal-scoring exploits from last season. The Frenchman fired in 7 Premier League goals last time out, a career best, and I'd be shocked if he can do it again at Vicarage Road. Number 7. Tammy Abraham. Last season, I think I predicted Tammy Abraham as a cheap option for your fantasy team as he joined Swansea City, but in reality, things didn't go quite to plan for the young forward, which maybe suggests I don't know what I'm talking about, but ignore that. While on loan from Chelsea, Abraham netted just 5 goals in 31 Premier League outings, maybe less than you'd expected. This season, it's unclear where Abraham will be playing, be it out on loan or acting as a backup at Stamford Bridge, but either way, he's one to avoid in fantasy football regardless of where he ends up. Number 8. Danny Rose. Last season was a rough one for Danny Rose, battling injury while Ben Davies thrived on the left side of defence for Mauricio Pochettino's side. It's now clear that the Welshman is Tottenham's first choice left back, meaning Rose will have to play backup just like Serge Aurier on the other flank. The Champions League and other cup competitions means Rose might get his fair share of minutes on the pitch, but they might not come in the Premier League, which is useless when it comes to fantasy football. Rose is a pricey option who needs to be overlooked, as there is no guarantee he'll actually play enough to warrant the £9 million price tag on Sky Sports, or the £6 million one on the Premier League. And finally, number 9, Anthony Marcial. The French forward is not a favourite of Jose Mourinho, so don't expect him to be a prominent feature in the Special One starting 11. Despite Marcial's clear talents, Mourinho has been less than complimentary towards the former Monaco forward, who's had a summer to forget really, watching on as his nation win the World Cup without him, having failed to make Didier Deschamps' squad. I suppose it hasn't been the worst summer of Marcial's life considering he became a father, and he got to miss out on a pre-season tour, so at least the ban was good for one thing. But yeah, maybe Tony Marcial isn't a strong pick for fantasy football, because if he's not good enough for Jose Mourinho, he's not good enough for you. So those are 9 players you should avoid in fantasy football this season. Let us know of any more in the comments below and who you're going to pick. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.